when you talk about proper nutrition and all that, that would actually make up some differences in the IQ. My only thing is IQ is maybe 20%. I say environment,
No, no,
culture
no, no.
are like
I'm
the
going to
other
go ahead
Come
and
things.
push.
on, you can't. IQ is
I'm going to
not
push
culturally
back.
biased.
I'm going to push back. Okay, I'm going to say there's nothing you can do to feed white Gentiles and raise white Gentiles on average to perform as well as Ashkenazi Jews. It's just not going to happen. They had different selective pressures. Okay, they tend to produce higher IQ people.
Yeah, but
You can you
we
hold on.
also
Oh, whoa,
wait
whoa, whoa,
wait
whoa,
wait
whoa, whoa, whoa.
but
Hold on,
Pepe
hold on, hold
Pepe
on, hold on, hold on. And when it comes to African Americans, I'm going to say the exact same thing. I truly believe there's nothing, there's no human intervention that can make it so that you guys had the same averages in terms of intelligence as white Gentiles. Like I don't know what to say. I'm not even saying I'm a supremacist. East
no
Asians
I
do
no
better than
like
us.
look
Jews
I'm
do
this
better than us. I don't
no
know.
this is
Like
not even an attack. This is not even an attack at you. This is like directly towards your idea. In the 40s and 50s, blacks turned out like smarter individuals. Why is that? Because the cultural differences.
Well, no, but we're
It
talking
was a
about the
different.
averages here. We're talking about the broad
Yeah,
averages
the
of a
averages
specific thing like
were higher
IQ.
then. The averages
no,
were
they
higher
actually
then for black
closed. No, no,
individuals than
no.
they.
The gap closed in like the what is it? The 70s or the 60s? I believe it was the 70s between
The blacks did better
African Americans and
before we
whites,
made.
but they've not, as far as closing the gap even more, we have not been able to see that. Like, there was a fucking reason when I was younger, we kind of like thought like, oh yeah, Jews, like they're big brains. At least in America, because like in Israel, they're not necessarily big brains. They actually have a lower average IQ than that in the United States. Most of them are not Ashkenazi Jew though in Israel. But if we look at the people that tend to be the most successful and do the best in Israel, it's Ashkenazi Jews. No fucking surprise there. Just as European Christians tend to do better than Latin American or African Christians.
Yeah,
To say it's all
but
about
yeah,
culture, I think
No,
yeah,
it's kind of fucking
no,
no
stupid.
way.
Yeah,
no. I said
genetics
Nigerian
matter.
I
make
said
more money than
higher.
white Americans.
So I would give 80% to culture and environmental factors
But there's
because
no
guess
there's
what?
no evidence of how that's broken down. Genetics is just a major factor in performance. Look at the NBA.
It
The
Let
depends.
me
NBA is not representative of
What
the rest
what
of
what
society.
what
It's
bro, Mike?
representative of people who have genetic traits that make them good
Yeah,
basketball
but
players.
Mike, after so many generations of pretty much selective breeding, right? Like breeding for that, like a la like call it legacy of
No, no, no,
slavery
no,
for.
no, no. If you, for example, you look at the best sprinter in Israel, he is the son, I believe, of a diplomat that came from Africa. So he's not an African American. There was no special breeding. Um, he's a West
What
African.
but
Whoa, whoa,
certain
whoa, hold on,
tribes
hold on, hold on,
certain
hold on,
tribes
hold on,
perform
hold on,
better
hold
than
on.
certain.
No, yes, yes. So it would be stupid to say black people are faster than white people. The reason
Well, fast
being
twitch
is
That's
that
what
muscles,
whoa, whoa,
fast
whoa,
twitch
whoa, whoa,
muscles.
hold on, hold on,
they
hold on.
are.
But they're not. So the thing is, though, is black people, people from sub-Saharan Africa, comprise East Africans, West Africans, the Bantu, the all of the different fucking ethnic groups, right? Now, what you see is a sliver of Africa, Western Africa, which produces the best fucking sprinters. Okay, and what you see is that in a small region of Ethiopia, where they actually do have a genetic variant that is really to their advantage, where they produce a lot of highly oxygenated red blood
So
cells,
they could run
and
longer.
they're yes, exactly, and
But
so
that's Western Africa
and
as
so
opposed to
no,
Eastern
it's
Africa.
Eastern Africa,
Or
yeah. So
yes,
hold
Also
on.
well above high. It's also well above sea level on
yeah,
average, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
they're
yes,
That's what
yes.
I
The
was
closer.
high
saying.
elevation is basic, and so there's two groups of people that ended up having a genetic mutation that gives them highly oxygenated red blood cells. One group is in Nepal, one group is in Ethiopia, and they're
Environment.
both
What about
yes,
the
but that
fastest people on the planet?
hold on. You're saying environment, but this environment ended up causing a genetic mutation.
I'll,
In other words,
Yes,
it's genetic.
I'll give you
yes.
So
that.
in other words, yes. And
Why are
so
black people got different
hold
bipedal?
on,
They got
when
exactly
it comes
which bipedal?
to West Africans, they're basically God damn, that spur fucking so annoying. When it comes to West Africans, there's a group of West Africans that, yes, absolutely are good at sprinting. There's a group of East Africans that are good at doing long distance. And yes, it's genetic. In other words, for thousands of years, okay, their ancestors, had to live in certain types of environments. And that's not necessarily race because we're breaking it down by region. These are all black people. If we look at white people, okay, how many Southern Europeans do you see that are like or I should say the percentage that are like 6 foot plus tall and just like fucking massive and built and strong as a motherfucker? You don't really see that very often.
Wait,
Where you do see it, where you
were
do
there
see it,
bloodlines?
hold on. Where you do see it is in Scandinavia and the Baltic region of Europe. These motherfuckers are tall. They have bigger, thicker limbs. They're much more muscular. They're much more strong on average. Just like Samoans and East, Polynesians tend to be much bigger and stronger than the Asian people that they split off from.
So
Okay,
Like
Pepe,
that is a reality.
Pepe,
so
let me just
depending on,
hold on a
go
second.
ahead, Ollie. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. I appreciate that. Just a couple of quick comments here. Uh, Number one, on average, the cognitive capacity of all Homo sapiens is pretty much the same. We are more or less have about 90 billions of neurons in our head, and so that's kind of biologically that is the fact. So, for example, if you take an infant in Papua New Guinea and
That's
take him to
bullshit. We have
okay, well, hold on, let
98%
me,
of our
Pepe.
genes in common with
Okay,
fucking
sure,
chimpanzees.
well,
It doesn't mean,
well,
but there's a huge difference between us and chimpanzees.
but the chimpanzees are a different species. I'm talking about Homo sapiens,
Yeah,
not
but
the
we're talking
species.
about genes. You can
Okay,
talk
but
about.
let me
Go
just
ahead.
we'll just let's focus on cognitive capacity, and we'll get to the other topics. So if you take a child from Papua New Guinea with all of the environmental factors that impacted the child for generation, because living in the jungle and all of that stuff, bringing them to Oslo, that child has the capability of become a scientist, a doctor, a lawyer, or a janitor.
Why don't
Whatever.
they then?
Okay,
It's
that's
just not.
no.
Why
Hold on,
don't they
hold on a
then?
second.
actually
Why
Well,
do they
true
need
on that.
concessions? Why do
let
they
me
need concessions to
yeah.
enter
That's
medical
not
school?
Well,
how
let me
But
averages work,
no.
though. Like
it's not,
that's.
Galen.
Let
But
me
hold on, Ali,
Is there
Ali.
one individual's edge cases
yeah.
don't
Okay.
define the
Well, let
norm?
me just finish the story in here. And you take a baby from Oslo and take him to Papua New Guinea, and now within the tribe, the child will very quickly would learn how to adapt to the environment and would survive as a teenager within the jungle environment and the forest, which you and I would die certainly in 3 or 4 days. Now, the point that I'm trying to make,
Yeah.
the cognitive capacity is the same, even though there are some genetic physiological projection of some genetic traits going over generations. Uh, Again, I'm
But
talking about the
no, it's
cognitive
not. It's
capacity.
not correct
So,
though. You're
well,
substituting idealism for science,
no,
and
I'm not.
this has been studied, and the data
So
shows that that's not true.
no. So the study looking at the genes, how they function, without taking into consideration, is meaningless. It's as
Well,
if you
no,
have
we don't
you have
really
the
exactly
genes.
know how they
No, no,
function. That doesn't matter. We
if
just know that different subgroups have different genes, and then they end up having measurably different, statistically significant differences in the outcomes.
okay.
It's just a simple fact.
Okay. Anyway,
Pretending that it's not true is just
I
not
mean,
scientific.
hey,
I stuck
but
with
guess
the
what? You have two brothers that live in the same house that can have statistically different outcomes.
Yes, but you
exactly.
have two brothers that also inherit different genes. You can have one brother, for example, that will end up being bipolar or schizophrenic. The other brother does not get that gene, and it does not get or it doesn't get expressed. you end up getting brothers, both they were nourished properly. One brother is 6'3", one brother is 6 foot. Genes play a wild role, and no, and of course you could say like, oh well, maybe it's nutrition, whatever. Because they're talking about body size. Okay, we especially in the European, when it comes to Europeans, you can get one brother that has blonde hair, blue eyes, one brother that gets hazel hair, or excuse me, hazel eyes and chestnut hair color. That absolutely happens. Why do they have different hair color and eye color? We know that's not environment, it's genes. So yes, intelligence fluctuates amongst siblings, and it absolutely in between groups, you're going to get a different spread in terms of average intelligence, how many people will be found to be highly intelligent in your group, and so forth. Now, if you were to look at Jews, and here's the here, and I love it because all of you, everybody likes to call me an evil, racist, all of this stuff. I'm actually like more or less a classic liberal. But I'll just say this. Okay, so if with about a standard deviation difference, it's been 111 to 115, the average Ashken, or Jewish American IQ, versus the Gentile IQ of 100. If you were to look at like the percentage of Americans that have an IQ over 145, which is very high, and basically all of the people that will run shit, and I'm talking about on very high levels, like that's like really good IQ. They make up 42% of the country, even though
What's really good IQ?
they're 145 plus. And so, basically, if we look, if 42, if you do the math, if 2 point whatever percent of the population was to account for 42% of the people that have an IQ over 145, I mean, well, fuck. I mean,
So,
what
so,
can you do about that? Is that the Jews' fault? I can't really say it is. Like,
so, so, Pepe, let me just give a couple of, some item, a couple of thoughts in here. For centuries, we thought, man thought that the women are dumber, less smart than men. And but if you look at what's going on, nowadays, in last 100 years, we will find the women that perform, again, cognitively as well as men in field of
no, slightly
science,
higher,
medicine. No, no, well, higher
slightly
too.
higher
Well, I know, and I kept it at
on
just
average.
to not make it controversial. On average, so what has happened is the women, they are now when they are a daughter is being born, she's being told she can do anything. She could become a scientist, become a doctor, or what have you. But if so, the point I'm trying to make, you see, 50% of the population of humans who we thought they were less smart than we are, the man, it turned out that's actually not to be the case. The second point that I wanted to make is I mentioned
Where are
about
all the
90.
female? Where are all the
Let me
female
just
chess
make one more point.
grandmasters? Where are all the female chess grandmasters then?
Okay, hold on just one moment.
Where are they?
And
Hold on,
then
hold
there
on,
are,
hold on,
Adjusted.
hold on. I have a rebuttal. Just let him
let me
go.
just, I'll be grateful if I let me finish. Now, there is something to be said. I mentioned about 90 billion neurons in every, for an average for every human, any Homo sapien. However, the way the neurons are structured, how they connect, how they form, how the pathways are generated, developed based on the environment, maybe some other genetic factors, that has an effect on the cognitive capacity of the individuals. Some of these pathways are poorly developed and results in maybe a lower kind of aptitude in mathematics, and maybe higher things for athletic stuff. So yes, again, the number of neurons is pretty much the same, but the way they develop in the brain based on the environment and some genetic underpinning, it makes a difference in terms of the output. the output being IQ, the output being whatever that might be, it makes a difference. The reason I
But
give
here's
that
the
logic,
the
so
IQ is a fairly objective measure, and it's been
I fully
studied
understand that,
itself.
Mike. I mean, I
You know,
understand that. I'm
before, when
just
they
trying to
just
make a
thought
larger
women were
point in here.
stupid or whatever, they didn't have a good measure to test it.
Right.
Well, now we do, and the IQ test has, some people who thought it had problems, you can go back and test. You can keep giving it to people, give it to the same people over and over again, see how close their scores are. You can do a lot of checking to see if it's statistically rigorous. And basically, we've had it now for decades, and the evidence shows that it is statistically rigorous, that it does, correlate well with what we consider to be intelligence. So, now we have that yardstick. We can look at these subgroups and see how they do. And the fact is that there's differences. It's just the reality of it.
So let me just
But
make
it shouldn't
one
be
more.
surprising because they come from different genetic backgrounds and they come from different circumstances.
Let me just give another example, then I'll go on mute. I have to go.
okay,
For example,
go ahead.
the best swimmers, they have a ratio, a certain ratio. The torso is much bigger, larger in comparison to the legs. I mean, you cannot even compete and become a high, Olympic kind of category or caliber if you don't have the much larger torso in comparison with your legs. Now, so again, your chances is absolutely zero to become a good swimmer if you don't have this ratio that I talked about. So if you have a group of swimmers that become successful and they're good, and then they have children, because of that physiological kind of presence of the higher ratio of the torso to the lower part being much higher, then their offspring are going to be carry the same genetic footprint. So the possibility, the chances are they'll be also, if they go into swimming, they make better swimmers just because they have a different physiological projection. So a lot of the stuff is in play in terms of how we select for things
But
and environment.
we didn't have entire subgroups of people who lived underwater per se, where the whole group would develop these changes. But with Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, they, their whole community faced these certain circumstances for something like 1,000 years, where they were mostly intermarrying just with themselves, and
I mean, they had
people who
arranged
didn't do
marriages,
well would
basically.
leave the group. So they had a lot of selective pressures right on that group. It's not the same for swimming. That's more just like random. It's a
So,
random genetic change, but that it's not driven by